All right. Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome once again for the Below the Yellow Line podcast, episode 111. I'm your host, Joseph Laney Pavlon. Tonight, I have Justin on board alongside me here. And as you can see, it's just a very highly anticipated few weeks of racing on the way. Of course, the Monaco Grand Prix is back for the first time since 2019. That probably the most anticipated Formula One race of the calendar is here to stay, starting this weekend. We'll discuss everything that happened, but looking ahead, we have the Indianapolis 500, the 105th running in the Indy 500. It all starts tomorrow with practice one, qualifying this weekend, the race next weekend at the Coca-Cola 600. What other events am I forgetting? The 24 Hours of Nürburgring in 3 weeks' time. So just take it as you will. We have some great racing up ahead and some very interesting stuff to talk about in NASCAR, but we're going to start, as we do, with NASCAR and what happened on Sunday. Yesterday's race was a very interesting showcase of skill, talent, and perseverance, and in the end, it was a team win for Hendrick Motorsports, but between the drivers, Alex Bowman was the better man in this deal. He ended up picking up his fourth career win. Alex Bowman winning the Dryden 400 at Dover International Speedway in the capital of Delaware, led 98 laps from the 16th starting spot. It's his fourth win of his career, second of the season. So he's the first. It's the first multi-win season for Bowman. Alex Bowman put on a great performance in that Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. Second place, Kyle Larson. I think we've said this before. Take it as a good or a bad thing. He still finished second after leading 263 laps and winning both stage one and stage two. Starting fourth, he never really left the top five to begin with. Yeah. Third place, Chase Elliott started eighth, and fourth place, William Byron, who led 21 laps, started third, and history was made. Hendrick Motorsports, longtime NASCAR Cup Series team, probably considered to be one of the most successful going into the new century and leaving the old one, scored their first ever 1, 2, 3, 4 finish in a NASCAR Cup Series race. This is the fourth case of a team finishing 1, 2, 3, and 4 in a Cup race. The last time that's happened was all the way back at 2005 in the season finale at Homestead Miami Speedway, when Roush Fenway Racing, which had 5 competitive cars, in fact, they were so good they made the then 10-man chase for the Cup playoffs. First, second, third, and fourth. In fact, the top 2 were in a photo finish to make it even crazier. It didn't happen since 1955 with DePaula Motorsports. That team did it twice, then never again until 2005 with Roush Racing, and then 16 years later, here we are again, Hendrick Motorsports. So another historic box to check off the list, and they're closing in on Petty Enterprises for the most wins of all time, which I believe is 268.
Yeah, and they're at 266.
2 more wins.
And yeah, they're good. They'll be tied. But like Hendrick Motorsports, they just had better cars in this race. Like Larson and Byron, they were dominant early. Bowman came remember Bowman, how he was he started 16th and stuff. He charged through the pack too. And Chase Elliott coming from the back. Like Hendrick, they know what they're doing. Remember a few years ago, 2018, they were struggling.
1 or 2 cars would have top 5 finishes and a few years back, but this year, top 10s are the expectation for everybody.
Yeah, literally, William Byron's doing good. Yeah, Bowman doing really good. Chase Elliott's still doing good, same as Kyle Larson. You got Hendrick is their lineup is really solid, and yeah, this is good for Hendrick.
Bright future for all these drivers.
Yeah,
and I think it's going to come down to the point where we may even see inter-team competition here, or intra-team competition, somewhat like what we've seen in the NHL with this regular season when all the teams play only in their divisions, but in a different sense, of course. Let's talk about the top 5 here. Joey Logano, I was saying yesterday to myself when the laps closed down, had there been a caution flag, he could have ended up in victory lane. Logano gained so many spots in that last green flag run. He started 9th, spent most of the race outside the top 15 until that last restart when he found his way back to a 5th place spot. Very impressive for Logano. 6th place, Kevin Harvick, probably the happiest, if not the unhappiest of Stewart-Haas racing we're going to see in quite some time, because it only gets slightly worse after 10th place. But Harvick, a solid 6th. He started 5th, stayed in the top 10. Denny Hamlin led 2 laps, started 2nd, finished 7th. Tyler Reddick, a solid 8th place finish after starting 12th. 9th place, Daniel Suarez. How about Daniel Suarez, who started 24th, and 10th place, a very needed 10th place for Cole Custer, who started back in 30th. 11th place, Bubba Wallace started 22nd, career best finish for the team, 23-11 Racing. Good run for them. Let's see, 19th place, Martin Truex Jr. He started on the pole with the metric qualifying system, led 16 laps, but it just only got worse from there. 19th place for car 19, and 30th place, Josh Berry, who made his NASCAR Cup Series debut after starting 29th. He finished 1 spot beneath that for JR Motorsports. In fact, that was a late call for them to put Josh Berry in the car as as the driver, Justin Haley. He was sidelined with COVID-19 protocol.
Yeah, but Josh Berry, he was doing decent earlier, but he hit the wall. But it was his first start, and he also did sped once on Pero, but it's the first time in a Cup car. But the difference is, these Xfinity cars just have the regular tachometer. Cup cars, digital dash. Remember Bubba Wallace sped twice? He sped once, and then on his penalty, he sped. Remember that?
Yes.
When his first start at Pocono replacing Almirola. Like, that's why. Like, these digital dashes are hard to read sometimes. Sometimes
not just that, these cars are different.
Oh, yeah, like the Xfinity cars. Composite bodies on them, they're less heavy. Cup cars are heavy as... You see how heavy. The package is different. Like this was the 750 package here. The cars handle different. Like, the Cup cars, you could be loose. Like, the Cup cars are more loose than the Xfinity cars. Sometimes Xfinity cars, you see them plow so much. So it's like, yeah, it was different handling, but he still, he finished
what a dream weekend for Josh Berry. Like that, yeah. Like he's worked so hard just to even be in NASCAR's top 3 levels. Now,
yeah,
he did something that so many drivers would just kill for.
Yeah.
Next race will be at the Circuit of the Americas for the inaugural Grand Prix of Coda. We'll talk about that a little bit later because that's going to be a whole different discussion amongst itself. But let's take a look at the point standings. So, by the way, I forgot to mention before going into the points is that this is the start of the second third of the season. Our first third was finished last week after the Darlington 400. Now the second third of the year began at Dover on Sunday. So the championship standings after 13 races, it's still Denny Hamlin. He's got a 101 point lead, just holding a very steady consistent season over the rest of the field. William Byron, who has 473 points, is 101 points back. 102 back minus 1 point was Martin Truex Jr. Just imagine how he brought it into the top 10 or even better, what it could have looked like. Fourth place, Joey Logano minus 132. Kyle Larson jumps back up to 5th, minus 134. Ryan Blaney 6th, minus 136. 7th place, Chase Elliott, last year's champion, is 142 points beneath the top. 8th place, Kevin Harvick for Stewart-Haas Racing, minus 147. Brad Keselowski 9th with 404 points, minus 170. And Kyle Busch with 383 points, minus 191 from his teammate Denny Hamlin. Now, we were going to talk about, just for a minute before we go on here, is the troublesome team of Stewart-Haas Racing. So we mentioned that Kevin Harvick is holding up an 8th place points run. He could do better, but there's still room for that. But it gets absolutely worse. If you just look down in the point standings, Cole Custer is still 25th after 13 races here.
Well,
and
27th.
Chase Briscoe
27th.
And Eric Almirola is 28th.
Like the thing is, like the 41, it's just like inconsistency. They had a good season, the decent season last year, but there's always people say that after a rookie year you have less like a sophomore slump. Remember Harvick had that in 2002 compared to 2001. He struggled. Like some people just struggle after. Briscoe's a rookie, so Briscoe's understandable to not be doing really good. Like the highest rookie last year was Cole Custer, but mainly was Tyler Reddick doing good. But the thing is, Briscoe's learning these Cup cars. Almirola, I don't know.
This is where I'm starting to scratch my head because honestly, and it's very unfortunate that most of the Almirola's incidents were not even of his own wrongdoing.
Yeah, like the tire something broke at last race. Darlington, he gets turned by Stenhouse. It's like wow, like he's had so much bad luck. Like people said it was Almirola's fault at Darlington. He got turned by Stenhouse. Yesterday, suspension broke on him. Send him into the wall. Like, he's just hoping for a really good race. He wants a top 5.
Had very high hopes going to Dover. Remember, it was 2018. He nearly won the Cup race in the fall. Had it not been for some late race cautions, he definitely would have ended up wasting that trophy. Exactly, that too was one of the cautions led to. But Almirola had this race marked on the calendar, just like he had Talladega, where he's won before, just like a short-lived Daytona 500, which lasted less than 15 laps. It just hasn't been his year. And you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, people question, hey, Stewart-Haas Racing, do they really need a 4-car team? I mean, I don't want to go that route. Aric Almirola is a great driver. His stats don't really highlight how good of a driver he really is. And we've seen him come out of holes in the past. A lot of people still question, or in 2017 going into 2018, question the hiring of Aric Almirola when Danica Patrick vacated her seat, opening the door for Almirola to come in. And just to think he nearly won the 500 right off the bat with that team says a lot about how well he did. And the fact he got his best ever finish of a 5th place run in 2018, a win at Talladega, you name it. He had a very good season that year. But
it's like 2019 decent. 2020 was starting like good and then bad. It was good and bad. But 2021, it's just not been his year. Like, he started out the season crashing, lap 13 in the 500 with Alex Bowman after Christopher Bell made contact with the 10 of Almirola. It started to get worse and worse, and it's just Almirola has also been at the wrong place at the wrong time. Like,
and now to make it even worse, we're going to a track he's never been before in a Cup car. No one has.
Yeah.
And there's so many question marks that you can't just put a period on. It's a challenging time for any driver to fill the bottom of the points list. But yeah, I think that's enough for our Cup discussion, because pretty much we're going to have a brand new one when we get into the race previews. Let's move on to the second tier NASCAR series and talk about the 200-mile race sponsored by Dryden at Dover for round 10 of 33, and how fitting it's the reigning champion taking the win. Austin Cindric, there we go, picked up his 11th career win, started 16th and led 51 of the 200 laps to bring his Roger Penske Ford to victory circle. He beat some of the best from Junior Motorsports, however, and it wasn't that easy, Justin, to get around those drivers.
No, it wasn't. Like, he was battling with Josh Berry, Justin Allgaier, Noah Gragson. Like, he was battling those guys most of the day. He came from the back also. Remember he didn't qualify too well because of his crash. He qualified 29th. He qualified in the 20s back there after crashing the final lap at Darlington. He crashed, started in the rear here, and came from the back to win. And people on Facebook put angry reactions because people are trying to say Cindric cheated. People said he had nitrous in his car. It's like, no, Cindric, I know people didn't remember the start of his career in Xfinity.
Yeah, we all know.
The Daytona.
Austin Cindric is a championship level driver, whether you like him or not. Give the kid some credit. He drove a brilliant race. And one thing I noticed about Cindric, and maybe it's a good thing, as much as people say that lack of representation of the manufacturer is a bad thing, it can also be a good thing. It means that the manufacturer that is factory supporting you, Ford, is only thinking about you and a few others.
Yeah.
So Cindric is in really good hands in order to get that second championship. So And it's going to probably come in his favor too. This weekend, we know he's a great road course driver. He's raced sports cars and professional events in the past. This is the kind of track that he's turned laps in, I assume, definitely many times in the past, going into COTA. So the world is in his hands right now. It's his job to keep it that way. Second place finish, as I mentioned, we're not there yet. Second place, Josh Berry. Josh Berry, he's just had a weekend of a lifetime. Won stage 2, led 48 laps, started 6, picked up the Dash for Cash honors. Great run for Josh Berry. And had a few cautions come out between the last restart and the end. He might have ended up in victory lane. Justin Allgaier, Josh Berry's teammate, who I was so eagerly to talk about before I realized he finished third. Justin Allgaier won stage 1. He led 94 laps more than any other driver, started second. And could this be Allgaier's year for a championship?
It could. He's really doing good. He's really more I remember the season started out rocky for him, but then it got better. I feel like this year he has a better shot because some of the drivers Chase Briscoe's not there. Some of the big other people that were in the championship battle, but I think he's gonna be really a contender this season. So I feel like he's gonna be more consistent. And there's tracks that he plays in his favor.
He's a great road course driver. Let's not forget, Justin Allgaier is. Let's take a look at some other tracks. Circuit of the Americas is host for the Formula One U.S. Grand Prix. Yeah. He won the last race at Montreal in 2012, which is host of the Formula One Canadian Grand Prix. He also won, I think it was 2018 at Road America.
Yes, he did.
And that's another very technical track that takes a lot out of you. So just think about where this is going here. This could be the start of a stretch. We'll discuss that a little bit later on the podcast. But yeah, and same will really apply to AJ Allmendinger, who finished 4th in this race. So you got to go to COTA with a high note. Leave Dover exactly the way that Allgaier and AJ did. Ty Gibbs finished 5th. He started 14th in his family-owned Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota Supra. His teammate, however, Harrison Burton, started 5th, finished 1 spot back in 6th. Michael Annett, a very solid 7th for the Iowa driver. 8th place, Ryan Sieg started 12th. Brought home in the top 10. Daniel Hemrick, who drew pole, led 1 lap to finish 9th. And Brandon Brown, the owner driver, wrapped at the top 10. He started 19th, brought it 10 spots better in the top 10. 20th place, Tommy Joe Martins led 5 laps, started 17th, finished 20th. BJ McLeod finished 21st after leading 1 lap and starting 24th. And Kyle Sieg, who finished 34th out of the race, started 35th in his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut. So it was pretty much a clear-cut race on who was dominant and who wasn't. It really wasn't that kind of race where it was all around just crazy. But Dover really shows you where the talented drivers are. So let's take a look at the championship standings now. After 10 races left. By the way, just like the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series will be 1/3 through the season after this weekend. So points after 10 races, Austin Cindric has a 62-point margin over Daniel Hemrick with 375 points in second. Third place, Harrison Burton with 74 points behind the leader. AJ Allmendinger is 4th with 95 points behind the championship leader. Jeb Burton is 5th with 318 points. 2 points back is Justin Allgaier, who climbs back up to 6th in points, minus 121. 7th place, Noah Gragson, getting reinstated from disqualification really helped him on Saturday because now he's really into the top 10 now. 300 points flat. So good run for Gragson. 8th place, Justin Haley, who was absent because of protocol, still sits 8th in points, 292 points so far. It's not over for him. 9th place, Mike Snyder, minus 155 with 282 points. And 10th place, owner driver Jeremy Clements with 277 points behind by 160 from the championship leader. And they'll be back at COTA for round 11. And like I mentioned, that'll be the end of 1/3 through the season. So I think we now know who our championship contenders are, Justin, in this Xfinity campaign.
Yeah, we do. But the thing is, it's some other tracks like Coda's unpredictable. Like we could have like a shit show, they call it, like you could have like a wacky driver getting a win. Like
you never know. The door's wide open now.
Yeah, like you never know. Like it's gonna be interesting. And then you got other tracks and they're like after Coda, they head to Charlotte, which is pretty much normal. But then after Charlotte for Xfinity, they head to Mid-Ohio. Then they got Texas. Nashville Super Speedway. Like, you got some tracks in there, like another road course, a mile and a half. You got another mile and a half with Texas. And then you go to Nashville. They haven't been there since 2011. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Very. So, yeah, these drivers are going to be put to the test for sure. We'll talk about IndyCar in a minute. There was one more event that happened at Dover. I'd like to just keep the same conversation going. It was the ARCA Menard Series East. In fact, the first half of the season is officially over for the ARCA East campaign. And that was the 125-mile race at Dover. And it was let me just play it simple. It was a perfect race for one driver, Ty Gibbs, another accomplishment, one of many of his very young driving career. Need I say more? Ty Gibbs, he is the star of the future. Doesn't matter what his last name is. That's the kind of driver that a team would do anything to have, and just represent. It's just a great performance by Ty Gibbs. He led all 125 laps in the race from the pole, picking up the victory. Second place, like I said, in a dream weekend for Josh Berry. Josh Berry in the Bruce Cook Chevrolet. Third place, owner-driver David Gilliland, highest Ford after the ARCA race. Fourth place, Sammy Smith increases that points lead. And fifth place, the new Smyrna Beach winner, Max Gutierrez in the Red A Ford. Let me just round out the top 10. Daniel Dye, 6th. Carter Mosak, 7th. Joey East, 8th. Jade Buford, 9th. And Ed Pompa, 10th. 9 cars finished on the lead lap. And the standings after 4 races, Sammy Smith, who is another phenom for Joe Gibbs Racing, is the championship leader. He's got 181 points. Second place is Mason Diaz, who we've seen in the racing for a few years in this series. 159 points for Mason Diaz. Max Gutierrez is 1 point behind Mason. He's third with 158 points. Fourth place is Joey East with 153 points. And Daniel Dye is 5th with 148 points. And the ARCA Menard Series East will be back for the North Carolina 200 at Southern National Motorsports Park in Kenly, North Carolina on the 12th of June. So a self-explanatory race, I guess, just to start the Dover weekend. And it was a very impressive show for Ty Gibbs. So let's move on and talk some open wheel racing, shall we? We had a very interesting event that happened at the Grand Prix circuit of Indianapolis. Our first of 2 trips this year, the GMR Indianapolis Grand Prix. For round 5 of 16, we did lose Toronto, so we go down a race. Unfortunately, for the second year in a row, there will not be a Honda Indy Toronto Grand Prix at Exhibition Place. So very, very unfortunate to see one of my favorite street circuits go, but it is what it is. I'm sure they'll be back next year. But yeah, the last box to check before the Indianapolis 500, of course, is the GMR Grand Prix at the Indy GP circuit. And it was a very, I don't want to say it was a shocking race. It was more like be prepared because this was eventually going to happen. We knew Rinus VeeKay was going to get that first win sooner or later. He may be 20, but he has shown a veteran in his short time of how well he drives in just in terms of everything. What I've seen from Rinus so far in his first 1.5 years of IndyCar racing is very impressive. A+. Rinus VeeKay led 33 laps. He started 7th, picked up his first career win and his second career podium, and he broke 2 dry spells. One for Dutch winners in IndyCar racing. The last time that happened was the 2007 San Jose Grand Prix with Robert Doornbos. And for his team at Carpenter Racing, their 5-year drought comes to an end which, of course, the last time they won before Saturday was Joseph Newgarden at Iowa Speedway. Second place, and he was really the story of the weekend, Romain Grosjean, in his third IndyCar start, led 44 laps, picked up his first career pole, picked up the extra points for leading the most laps, his first career podium, and a best finish of second, driving for Dale Quinn with Rick Rail Racing. A very impressive job for Romain and his team. We're going to talk about him in a minute here. Let's keep on with the results because I have a lot to say about Romain Grosjean. Third place, Alex Palou, the Chip Ganassi driver, led one lap, started fourth, picked up his third career podium. Joseph Newgarden, who started second, finished fourth, the highest Penske driver. I'm very shocked to see that Penske wasn't a factor in this race as much as you think they are. Statistically speaking, they literally own the Indy GP and wins and everything. Fifth place, Graham Rahal, with an ailing race car, finished fifth after starting 11th. Simon Pagenaud finished sixth after starting 10th. Alexander Rossi finished seventh, 7 spots better from his starting spot. Scott McLaughlin, eighth. His countrymate Scott Dixon, ninth after leading 3 laps. Scott Dixon, who started 16th, finished ninth. And Marcus Ericsson rounded up the top 10. After starting 15th, he finished 5 spots better. Ryan Hunter-Reay led 4 laps, started 19th and finished 12th. And in 21st place, Juan Pablo Montoya, the 1999 champion and 2-time Indy 500 winner, made his first start in IndyCar since the 2017 Indianapolis 500. He drove for Arrow McLaren SP, which we'll see him again in the Indy 500 this week. So good to see the veteran back. Well, let's begin. First of all, I think Rinus VeeKay needs a discussion first before we talk about second place driver. But is it surprising that Rinus VeeKay took so long to get that first win? Or did we see it coming even from last year?
I saw it coming because, like, Rinus VeeKay, I know he started out rough with a crash at Texas, but towards the end of the season, he started performing really well. Like, especially Mid-Ohio. Remember that crazy move he made to get that position? Like, I know he was a daring driver trying to make moves and stuff. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I feel like Rinus VeeKay is going to win a race soon. And he finally broke out. Like, VeeKay, he's been... Like, this season, he's not did too bad. Like, seen worse performances. Like, VeeKay's been starting to try and... Like, VeeKay's trying to be more consistent. I see him being more consistent. Which I feel like now with him having one full season underneath his belt, I feel like he's more used to the IndyCar. So I feel like he's going to start doing really good. And Ed Carpenter, this helps momentum for Ed Carpenter Racing. Really helps the team.
Absolutely, and usually their best performances are at the Indianapolis 500 with, of course, Ed Carpenter himself. But they needed this race. They needed this kind of go around. And remember, Rinus VeeKay in the Harvest Grand Prix, he picked up his first career podium there last year. So he does have a good record at the circuit. Second place, though, man of the weekend, Romain Grosjean exceeded my expectations. How do you rate Romain Grosjean's, I guess, scale of surprisingness of that race? I know I'm not using English words, but I don't have grammar. But how do you rate the surprise scale of Romain Grosjean's performance?
I say 10 out of 10 because, one, I didn't expect him to get pole in his third start. I didn't expect that. And 2, I didn't expect him to lead 44 laps out of 85. Like, nobody expected him to do that well. Like, I saw this person saying, oh, Grosjean's going to be turn 1, lap 1, he's going to be backed into the barrier. Oh, yeah, he was totally backed into the barrier. Yeah, leading 44 laps. He was impressive that whole weekend. I'm just
happy for Romain and especially his fans. A lot of fans of Romain Grosjean back in the Formula 1 days expected him to be the first French driver since Olivier Panis to win a Grand Prix during his time. Even though at least it has been capped by Pierre Gasly last year, but still, we thought it was going to be Romain Grosjean because he picked up a lot of podiums throughout the years, but just could never make it to the top step.
But
what we see here in North America is a different Romain Grosjean than we saw yesterday in Formula One.
Like, I remember people criticized him in F1, but the thing is, like in 2016, he drove, like 2016 and 2020, he drove for currently now the worst garbage team with Haas.
He left at a good time, I tell you.
Yeah, like when I heard Magnussen and him was like, oh, I'm like, hopefully this is a better move because the Haas F1 team and like Grosjean just, I'm doing good in IndyCar, and then he just sees Haas struggling with two rookies and one of the rookies that doesn't know how to drive his F1 car. Sorry, Mazepin fans. Oh, no, he doesn't have fans.
Yeah, it's hard. He's really big needle in a haystack there. But the point we're trying to make is that Romain Grosjean has been, I think this is the time where we may see a different personality in him. A lot of F1 drivers, it's nothing new to see an F1 driver leave to spend the next day at IndyCar. Or in prototypes or sports car racing, but this is the kind of driver who really needs to get that happiness back in his racing career. And if that means a part-time IndyCar season, so be it. Romain just put on a great drive out there, and just to see how he's turned everything around, that shows you that he's got a confidence scale that is just through the roof. And I can't wait to see more of him. He's running all the street and road and street courses, correct?
Yeah, he's doing the.
All right, so he'll be back for the Detroit Grand Prix in like 3 weeks' time. So
because Petro, he's in the 51 at the ovals, but like
another driver who has worked with the Haas F1.
Yeah, he actually replaced Grosjean in the final two events at the Sakir Grand Prix and Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in the Haas F1 after that fiery incident that Grosjean had, which that was like, I remember people were talking about him surviving that to now being a pole setter in IndyCar and
getting in the race car.
Yeah, getting his first podium and his first pole in his third start.
These drivers, these motorsport athletes are just a one-of-a-kind person. They're just one-of-a-kind personalities. They are brave souls, I tell you. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people would be just understandably not taking the risk and signing the papers to do it. Yeah. But that's just who these drivers are. And we'll see a lot of that kind of daredevil racing soon with the Indianapolis 500 when these guys go 230-plus miles an hour on that prestigious yard of bricks. Of course, next weekend, May 30th, for round 6 of 16. Remember, it was a 17-race schedule until Toronto was removed. Now we have 16 races. There is no talk on a replacement date yet. Yeah. If there is, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there is or isn't.
But we'll just see. But it's like people are wondering why Toronto was off the schedule. It's like in Canada, not everyone's got vaccinated. Like, I'm still not eligible because I'm only 18. Like, in my area, the only people that are eligible is 30 and up. I'm not 30 years old yet. So I gotta wait till my age group, which is towards the end. But I
don't want to say they're behind, but they're just not ready.
Yeah, and also people are not listening in Ontario. They keep getting like 3,000 to 4,000 cases a day, which is kind of alarming.
I mean, listen, I was thinking, hey, maybe like as an alternative, why not just go to a closed circuit? IndyCar hasn't been in Montreal since the Champ Car World Series days of the mid-2000s. I'm like saying, hey, why not? Instead of F1 Grand Prix, just go that weekend. But like, even then, it's hard enough to go across the border. And next on the to cross off a Canadian track list is NASCAR with the Truck Series. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We still have many months till then.
But
it's a closed circuit in most sport.
But it all just depends.
Toronto's a street circuit.
Yeah, it's also just all depends how people act over here. Like, if people are listening to what people are saying, that's good. But some people just don't listen. They just don't care. And but we'll have to see. That the truck race is only in September. We still have less than 4 months till the race in September.
And by the way, I know we're not in politics. We're not in the CDC office, but the fact that the CDC is telling Americans they can go anywhere pretty much without a mask if they're vaccinated tells me that we're from where we were a whole year ago. Pretty much, I think this is like the week where NASCAR made its brave return to racing.
Yeah,
at Darlington.
Is that
in 365 days? Look how much has changed for the better. I think we'll see Toronto back for good in 2022. Definitely more hopeful than this year.
I just realized, remember that return race at Darlington was actually on May 17th.
Wow,
2020.
365 days. It feels longer than that.
Yeah, it was exactly 1 year ago. Today was that return race where Stenhouse crashed on the first lap, which was a little bit embarrassing.
The whole mindset of that was, well, NASCAR might get lucky. We don't know if F1 can even manage this. How can you go from country to country? Now we know how. And maybe we'll get there. Maybe, we see Australia's catching up. Remember, they had very strict rules. They still do, but they're slowly but surely leavening the strict rules. And actually, they were probably the first country to allow maskless living, I'd say. I don't want to call it maskless, but I mean, you still have to wear a mask on the plane there. But pretty much when you get off the plane, you're pretty much, you don't even need to think about it. But it's going to be interesting returning to life without a mask everywhere. It's like, what? Because I'm still not wearing it.
But I'm still like, when I'm at work, it's weird. I don't know how some people look like anyway because of the mask. But without a mask, it's going to be weird getting used to no mask. It's going to get weird just trying to
I can't have my facial expressions anymore. If you know me, I have some very broad facial expressions. But
that was good for Grosjean and IndyCar, and hopefully Grosjean continues good performances down the road this season. We get good points. I know he's not running the full season, but get a decent amount of points.
For sure. Let's talk about the championship standings real quick before we because I want to hold this discussion for the later when we talk the Indy 500, all that. But Scott Dixon is the points leader. He is pretty much on track for tying AJ Foyt's record, as he is tying on track for Mario Andretti's record as well for win count. But for championship count, he's almost there. 176 points right now. It's looking good. 163 points in second place is his teammate Alex Palou, putting in a very stable run. Joseph Newgarden climbed up to third, 148 points. Pato O'Ward is fourth with 146 points. Graham Rahal, 137 points in fifth. Rinus VeeKay climbs up to sixth with 135 points in sixth place. Seventh place, 2016 champion Simon Pagenaud with 130 points. Eighth place, Scott McLaughlin with 123 points. Ninth place, Will Power with 118 points. And 10th place, Colton Herta with 117 points. But we'll discuss the Indy 500 and all that when we come back to the podcast or later for the race previews, because there's a lot on our plates. For sure. All right, ready to talk some endurance sports car racing?
Yep.
All right, we'll begin with the European Le Mans Series, and then we'll talk some IMSA. We'll start about the ELMS race that happened in Spielberg, Austria, for the 4 hours of the Red Bull Ring. That was round 2 of 6. Remember, the schedule changed after, I think it was the opening race, but whenever they changed Le Mans 24 hours, they had to change the date for the Castellet event.
Yeah.
Well, the results. So let's go class by class. Of course, the overall class in ELMS is the LMP2 class, won by, once again, this team has just impressed me and a lot of fans. Team WRT, a traditionally GT3 organization that has had a loyal history with Audi as a manufacturer, made their first appearance at LMP2s in the opening race, which was the 4 Hours of Barcelona, and they won. And they win again with Louis Delétraz, Robert Kubica, and Yifei. Another outstanding drive by the team. In fact, the amount of laps that was completed, 149 laps. 3 cars finished on the lead lap. It was a very impressive run, to say the least. Just outstanding for this Oreca team. Team WRT gets the win. Second place and third place, double podiums in a Pro-Am Cup award. Number 26, G-Drive Racing. Auroras 01 with drivers G-Drive Racing, number 26 with Nick DeVries, Roman Rusinov, and Franco Colapinto. Get used to Franco Colapinto, by the way. He's a very great driver. Comes from Argentina. Puts out some fast laps, and he's still pretty young. He's got a lot of years left, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if F1 wants the next Fangio, I don't want to say Fangio, but of course, his best Argentine driver, then look no further than Franco Colapinto. Third place was the number 25 G-Drive Racing Aurora 1, which they win the Pro-Am Cup trophy for being highest of those licensed car finishers in class. Drivers John Falb, Rui Andrade, and Roberto Merhi in car 25. Fourth place was the number 34 Racing Team Turkey, provided by TF Sport Oreca 07. Drivers Salih Yoluk, Charlie Eastwood, and how about Logan Sargent from Boca Raton, Florida, who nearly won the Formula 3 championship, finished third Prema last year. And if we want an American driver born in America to race in Formula 1 in the future, get used to Logan Sargent's name because he is absolutely fast. He put out in his first ever start in an LMP2 event. He qualifies on pole. I'm not making this up. This driver is absolutely talented. And finishing fifth in class was the number 29 Ultimate Oreca 07 with Francois Herriot, Jean-Baptiste Leahy, and Matthew Leahy. Probably related to each other. Number 29 Oreca 07 LMP3 class. Let's talk about the LMP3s for a minute. Winning the LMP3 class, finishing 16th overall, was the number 19 Cool Racing. How cool is that? Number 19 taking the win. Ligier JSP 320. Drivers Matthew Bell, Nicholas Cruton, and Nikolai Maulini. Second place was the number 11 Euro International Ligier JSP 320 with Joey Alders, M. Bolokaski, and Andrea Domderi. Ligier JSP 320, number 11 Euro International. Third place was the number 18 Graf Ligier JSP 320. Not sure, number 8, not 18.
I was about to say that is
number 8 with Eric Trullier, Sebastian Page, and David Drew behind the wheel of that car. Fourth place in class was number 13 and number 14 for fourth and fifth in class inter-Europol competition. The 13 car for this race was driven by Ulysses Depot, Martin Hipp, and Hugo de Wild. Number 14 was driven by Matthias Krasik and Gustas Grinbergus, as well as Mattia Passini.
Yeah.
For car number 14. So those are your top 5 in LMP3, and of course the LMGTE class. And that will bring us into our next discussion, because we saw the LMGTEs absent in the IMSA race. They were in Europe instead. For the LMGTE class at the European Le Mans Series, 4 Hours of the Red Bull Ring, that was won by the number 88 AF Corsa Ferrari. 488 GTE Evo drivers, Francois Pirano. How about 50-year-old Emmanuel Collar and Alessio Rovera? Great run for Ferrari. In fact, Ferrari swept the podium flat out. Number 55, Spirit of Ferrari finished second.
That's my pick.
That was your pick.
I picked the 55.
Duncan Cameron, Matt Griffin, David Perel drove that car to second place in O-Class podium. Third place was the number 80 Iron Lynx Ferrari 488 GT Evo with Matteo Cresoni, Rino Mastronardi, and Miguel Molina. Fourth place in class was the number 93 Proton Competition Porsche 911 RSR with Michael Fassbender, Filipe Fernandez Lazier, and Richard Leitz in the Porsche. And fifth place in class was another Ferrari, number 66 JMW Motorsports with Joey Fanine, Andrea Fontana, and Rodrigo Salas. So there's your results. You know your team, they just pulling away in points now, and as is cool racing because those two cars swept races in class, and Iron Lynx takes over the points lead. It's just a lot of exciting racing to go for sure. They will be back on the 6th of June with the 4 hours of Le Castellet and Circuit Paul Ricard in France around 3 of 6. And yes, that is, to answer your questions, that is going to be on the same weekend as the 24 hours of Nürburgring. Unfortunately, there was no way around it. The ACO ELMS had to put the race at Le Castellet on that date because of changes that were made when the 24 hours of Le Mans was moved to late August from mid-June. So, all right, from one sports car race to another, let's talk about the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship race, the first sprint race of the year for round 3 of 12. The Mid-Ohio Acura Sports Car Challenge. We saw 3 of the 5 classes show up, LMP2s and GT LMs. The LMGTEs were overseas in Austria, so they didn't show up for this one. But we saw the DPIs, LMP3s, and GTDs race. So let's go ahead with, of course, the overall class. And this is, by the way, I forgot to mention for the sprint races, there are eight sprint races. And for the GTD class, there is a separate points championship. Even they still have the 12 race points championship, but there's an 8 race sprint cup for that class, and it started yesterday. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. But all the sprint races, except for the street courses on closed circuits, are 2 hours and 40 minutes in length. On street circuits, they are 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Oh my!
Ricky Taylor, Filipe Albuquerque, the number 10, Konica Minolta, Wayne Taylor Racing, Acura ARX 05 DPI with 122 laps complete, picked up the win. It was a very competitive race. All the cars finished on the same lap.
Oh my god. Okay, I don't get it. What? My picks are so weird. I picked the first 2 races, I picked the 10. They won Daytona and then they didn't win at Sebring. The first time I picked the 01 car and not the 10. The 10 wins and the 01 did bad. Oh, Boston just scored.
Nice. Yeah, 1-0. So Ricky Taylor and Filipe Albuquerque, and you know how well Filipe drives, how fast he is of a driver. He put that car right where they belong in the victory. Overall and in class. Second place was the number 31 Whelen Engineering Racing Cadillac DPI provided by Action Express Racing with the 2 Brazilian drivers, Pipo Durrani and Felipe Nasser. Third place, the number 55 Mazda Motorsports provided by Multimatic Motorsports, Mazda DPI with Ollie Jarvis and Harry Tinknell. They started on pole. Fourth place was the number 5 JDC Miller Mustang Sampling Motorsports Cadillac DPI with Tristan Vote and Loic Duval. And fifth place in class was the number 01 Cadillac Chip Ganassi Racing with Ranger Van der Zandt and Kevin Magnussen. And last but not least in the class, because there's only 6 of them, we'll mention Meyershank Racing with Karabakh Johnny and Acura DPI. Number 60 with Dan Cameron and Olivier Pla. All those cars finished on the same lap. Now that's impressive. I don't care how long races. That's a very impressive feat for sure. Next, of course, is the LMP3 class. The LMP3 class was in the race, finishing 7th overall, winning in class and completing 115 laps was the number 74 Riley Motorsports Ligier JSP 320. All cars, by the way, for this race, then we get out of the way, were in the class were in Ligier JSP 320s for this event, LMP3. So the drivers were Gar Robinson and Felipe Fraga. From pole, they never looked back and picked up the win. So good for them. Second place was the number 38 Performance Tech Motorsports car driven by Dan Goldberg, as well as Rasmus Lin.
Yep.
Third place in the category was the number 91 Riley Motorsports Ligier, driven by Jim Cox and Dylan Murray. Fourth place in class was the number 54 Core Autosport Ligier of John Bennett and Colin Brown. Fifth place in the class was the number 33 Sean Creech Motorsport Ligier. Number 33 was driven by Lance Wilsey and Joao Barbosa. And last but not least in the category, in LMP3 all the way out of contention after a problem, was the number 36 Andretti Autosport Ligier of Jared Andretti and Oliver Askew. They completed 85 laps, not classified.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what it is with my picks. The 01 did not win. My pick for LMP3 was the number 54. I know who won GTD, which my pick obviously did not win in GT Daytona. Obviously.
All right, in the GTD class, consisting of FIA Group GT3, was won by the veteran Bill Oberlin.
Yep.
And Robbie Foley, number 96 Turner Motorsport BMW M6 GT3, picked up the win, finishing in their 12th overall. Second place in class was the number 12 Vassar Sullivan Lexus RCF GT3 with Frankie Montecalvo and Zach Veach. Third place in class was the number 1 Paul Miller Racing Lamborghini Huracan GT3 with Brian Sellers, Madison Snow. Fourth place was the number 23 Heart of Racing Team Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT3 with Roman Gangulis as well as Ross Gunn. And fifth place in class was the number 76 Rick Emil Compass Racing Acura NSX GT3 Evo with Mario Farnbacher and Jeff Kingsley.
Yeah.
So with all that said, that's our first sprint race of the season.
Yeah.
And in the team's championship, of course, that is all gone to Wayne Taylor Racing now. So Wayne Taylor Racing, and then second place is Mazda. We have the JC in third. So these guys will be back. Of course, they'll have 2 weeks, or actually 3 weeks off. They'll be back in the second week of June on June 12th for the Detroit Grand Prix, round 4 of 12.
Oh, Washington's on a power play. David Postnock got a penalty for holding.
All right, so yeah, I guess it was a very interesting sprint race. I think you expected a race like that. You know, Justin?
Yeah, it was interesting. I know my picks didn't do too well, but Washington just tied it up right away.
What happens when you go to the box?
Well, like the 01 did not win. I picked them. Then in LMP3 I picked the 54. They didn't win. Well, the worst pick I picked was GTD. I picked the 88, and they really didn't do good. So yeah, my pick. I remember you picked the 9 for Pfaff Motorsports, which they did. They started in the back, which they did an impressive to get up from the back to 6th place. Like, it was an interesting weekend. Interesting moments when one of them was the contact with the 16 entry that he spun into the gravel, and it was in the 31 getting hit by the 28 of Michael De Quesada in the 28 for Allegro Motorsport into the 31. But it was an interesting event.
Yeah, it was for sure. All right, so that's it for the WeatherTech Championship. Let's talk about the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, and we'll get into MotoGP in just a minute. So yeah, the Riverhead Miller Lite 200, round 3 of 14. We only 2 leaders, and the leading last 25 laps ended up picking up the trophy. Doug Coby led 25 laps to score the win. Patrick Emmerling finished second. Justin Bonsignor led the first 135 laps of the race. He came home third. Kyle Bonsignor fourth, and Woody Pickup finished in the top 5. In the standings, we have a tie for the points lead. Eric Goodale and Jeff Patrick Emmerling, first and second with 125 points each. Third place, Doug Coby with 118 points. Fourth place is Justin Bonsignor with 116 points. And fifth place is Kyle Bonsignor with 113 points. They will be back on the 29th of May for the Jennerstown 150. They'll be round 4 of 14.
Yeah.
So,
modified
all around.
Yeah, modified, tied for the points lead. And that I know that people say, oh, there's back markers in there, but it's always a good battle in the modifieds. I like 20
grassroots racing at its finest. I never get tired of watching it.
Like, remember when it was free, when we had the Fans Choice TV before Track Pass?
That was some fun stuff in 2019.
I remember watching some of the K&N West and East. I've watched all those series, and it's interesting. Like, local racing is interesting. Like,
absolutely. Go to your local short track. They need your money just as much as they put on a good show.
Yeah.
All right, one more race before we talk about what's coming up this weekend, and that leaves us with MotoGP for the French Grand Prix at Circuit de la Sarthe Bugatti Circuit in Le Mans, France for the French Grand Prix. That was round 5 of 19, still 19 races. It may change, though. But in the end, it was Jack Miller for the second race in a row. He scores the win for Ducati and the Lenovo team. Jack Miller started third. He finished first. Ducati 1-2. John Zarco second. Third place, Fabio Quartararo. Pole position and fastest lap. So good to see two French riders on the podium in the French Grand Prix. Francesco Bagnaia fourth. Fifth place, Daniele Petrucci. Alex Marquez sixth. Takaki Nakagami seventh. Paul Espargaro, 8th. Akira Lucinoa, 9th. And Maverick Vinales, 10th. Now the final points paying positions. Valentino Rossi, 11th. Luca Marini, 12th. Brad Binder, 13th. Ania Bastianini, 14th. And Tito Rabat in 15th. So, the top 15. Remember, the top 15 has to finish the race to be classified for points. The championship standings have fluctuated. Let's talk about that. Fabio Quartararo takes the points lead by 1 point over Francesco Bagnaia in second. So 1 point separates the top two. Then John Zarco is third with 68 points. Fourth place, Jack Miller jumps up to fourth with 64 points. Maverick Vinales is fifth with 56 points. Now moving to the teams, the Constructors' Championship. The Constructors' Championship. Ducati has a 3-point lead over Yamaha. Yamaha's and Ducati, by the way, have never gone without a podium in the season yet. Just saying. 110 points for Ducati. Yamaha, 107 points. All the way.
Wait, what? Wait, you said 107 for Ducati and 107 for Yamaha?
107 for Yamaha. They're 3 points behind Ducati with 110.
Yeah, I was about to say 107 to 107. I'm like, okay, that's interesting
place,
math.
All the way back with 53 points.
Oh.
Fifth place, 10 points behind them is Honda, 43 points. Fifth place is KTM with 38 points, and sixth place behind KTM in sixth with 35 points is Aprilia. And Aprilia is starting to step it up, though. Much better than we've seen from them last year. Now in the team standings, Ducati Lenovo team starting to pull away with the championship lead with 143 points. However, Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP with the Riders' Championship leader sits in second with 136 points. Pramac Racing is third with 86 points. Fourth place, Team Suzuki X-Star with 72 points. And fifth place, Repsol Honda team with 48 points. So, and there you have it. And the next race that they have in the MotoGP is on the 30th. For the Italian Grand Prix at the Mugello Circuit, round 6 of 19. So, good going for these MotoGP guys. I love watching MotoGP when I'm able to. It's always fun to watch.
Yeah, it is.
It's such a competitive points battle.
Yeah, and also, like some country... Like, I remember I never used to watch it because up here in Canada, it was never on TV. It was on a premium network. Until now, it's on a Rev TV, which is it's a racing network that also airs Indy Lights. And I just noticed the Predators Hurricanes now on CNBC. I'm going for the Hurricanes. Remember, Joseph, Hurricanes are my Stanley Cup champion.
I kind of want Nashville to win so that if Florida has to play them, it's an easier series.
Well, what happens if somehow Montreal wins the Stanley Cup?
Well, we know they're going to exceed the first round because Toronto will never exceed the
I don't know. I think Montreal. You got Carey Price.
He got put to the AHL, I thought.
Yeah, but Carey Price got injured. He got a concussion. Jack Allen, I don't know how good he'll be. Sometimes he just chokes. But it's going to, like, MotoGP, it's an interesting series. Yes. I remember watching the first race of the season, which people in the U.S. don't like their TV deal with having re-airs.
Or watch it on the app or just those extracurricular platforms they put us to. I'd rather just pirate it all together.
But like for Canada, it's on live TV. It's the same thing with Indy Lights races in Canada. Like in the US, it's on Peacock. Canada, it's live on TV. Or in the US, you can watch on the Road to Indy website. It's basically, it's like. But MotoGP, if you have MotoGP, watch it. It's a really fun series.
Very exciting. And the races are short, too, so you don't have all the time in the world.
Yeah, and it's
you're not going to lose too much by watching a MotoGP Grand Prix. All right. Okay, I think that's it. Let's go ahead and discuss. Oh, this is it. This is where we're going to see all the cherries on top here. Is everything this weekend has to offer. We're going to talk about NASCAR, all three series making their first ever appearances at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. We'll discuss the return of a tradition. The 2021 Monaco Grand Prix is here, finally, for the Formula One World Championship. Formula 2 will be back as well. And, of course, how could we forget the Indianapolis 500 first practice? And everything all starts tomorrow in the morning. So the 105th running of the 500 begins pretty much tomorrow in the Trek for the big race, which is next Sunday. It all starts this week. We'll have one sports car endurance race we'll discuss, which is the 24H series. They make their return to Hockenheim. This time it's a 12-hour race for round 4 of 8. And let's proceed with NASCAR for the inaugural Echo Park Texas Grand Prix at COTA for round 14 to 36. It's an inaugural race. We don't have any history of this event. It's just a new, fresh, clean slate.
Yeah, it's this time I don't need to use my stats. Remember, I always search my stats before every race to pick who I want to win. I can't do that now because there's no statistics here. Because
everybody's on zeros.
It's basically just don't pick a person. Like for Cup, there's no worry about people DNQing. Xfinity and trucks, there is people DNQing. But it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be good and who's going to struggle.
Mm-hmm. And this could really set the tail for the next portion of the season.
Yep.
All right, let's get on with the Cup Series. This is the second road course of the season.
Yep.
Now, the Cup Series has, I think, a record number of road courses in one sole season. We had the Daytona Road Course earlier this year. It was won by Christopher Bell. Then, of course, this weekend at Circuit of the Americas. Then Sonoma, a little bit like less than a month, probably in half a month from now, June 6th. Then we go to Road America for the first time.
July 4th weekend.
Yep, first time since 1956.
And then after that, a few weeks later, or a month later,
Watkins Glen.
A month later, and then the week after Watkins Glen, Indianapolis Road Course, and then a few months later, the Charlotte Roval.
Right, which will be part of the 10-race NASCAR Cup Series playoffs.
Which some of the road courses are interesting. Some they've raced before, like Sonoma and the Charlotte Roval and Watkins Glen. But the new road courses that the Cup Series is racing on in a while, or in general, COTA Road America, and the Indy GP circuit. Those 3 tracks, like, it's going to be interesting. Like, COTA's going to have practice and qualifying because it's a new circuit for NASCAR. When they announced this race, I was excited for this race.
Oh, I'm ecstatic. I think this is going to be great.
Like, I know it's Herman Tilke designed the track, but F1 cars are different. NASCAR cars, you don't need DRS for NASCAR stock cars. Like, nope. NASCAR, there's no...
You just have your 4-gear manual stick shift body stock cars, and that's it.
Yeah, it's not like F1 where you could lose time on the straights. But it's
boy, I don't know what to say, but let's bring it on. Can it be Friday already?
Yeah, Friday starts off with truck practice is the first thing that, there's except if you want to watch iRacing Pro Invitational on Wednesday.
I knew there was going to be an iRacing event supporting this.
But the first practice that starts off is the trucks on Friday and Xfinity practice. Then we got practice for Cup on Saturday, truck and Xfinity qualifying Saturday, plus the truck Xfinity races. And then qualifying for Cup is on Sunday with the Cup race later that day. Alex Nedeljkovic is the starting goaltender for Carolina. And Juice Saros is the starting goaltender for the Predators.
All right. I think we should open up World Hockey Media one day.
But the thing with COTA, it's going to be interesting. We got some road course ringers. Not
a lot
many
of them, especially in the
truck series. The truck series.
The truck series is going to be a dogfight to get in the race. But let's start off with the Cup and discuss who might be a factor here just by looking at a full 40-car entry list.
Yeah, so no DNQs.
Everyone's going to be in the race. And who will play? We got some road course ringers. Let's talk about some road course ringers that you might see in the front, finishing in the top 10. I'm looking at AJ Allmendinger. What about James Davison? What about Austin Cindric? He probably turned more laps here than anybody else.
Yeah.
Josh Bilicki, Cody Ware, Justin Haley is running some Trans Am races. Kyle Tilley is an LMP2 superstar.
Yeah.
We just talked about him running the ELMS race not too long ago.
Yeah.
What about some of the Cup regulars?
You got Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, Logano. That's some of these names that Christopher Bell, the Daytona Road Course winner. He's also part of that. Chase Elliott.
Oh. There, I was waiting for you to say his name because Chase Elliott, he's the guy that will stun everybody on these road courses. When you forget about Chase Elliott's skills and talent on these tracks, it's usually the same race when you mention that, or anyone mentions that he wins.
Yeah, it's like...
wasn't he on a road course tear before Christopher Bell's Daytona road course win?
Yeah.
From Watkins Glen and all the 2020 races.
Yeah, and then Christopher Bell stole it at Daytona. But it's Chase Elliott, he's going to be up front there in the 9. But it's going to be interesting. Yeah, you have Kyle Larson, decent road course racer for Hendrick Motorsports in the 5. William Byron, he started.
I have good hopes on him.
Alex Bowman is decent on road courses. He's good and bad. We'll see. Hendrick is going to try to keep momentum. Allmendinger is going to be a good contender for a win here.
All right, I want to hear these picks. I'm getting impatient.
Ooh. Okay, because there's no stats. This guy, he's not full-time in the Cup Series. He's a rookie. So that already says who you think I'm saying. This driver, he has 1 title in the NASCAR Series. Driver of the number 33, Austin Cindric, is going to get career win number 1 at COTA.
You know what? I think we're going to see these two battle for the win. It's going to be a battle between road course ringers. I'm sorry. You fans of your Cup drivers, they're going to have to wait until they see the victory lane. Because AJ Allmendinger, I'm going to go with AJ Allmendinger. These guys are going to win stages, but AJ's going to come out on top here.
Okay. Yeah, AJ.
I think the road course ringer era is coming back. I don't know why I'm saying that. Maybe because of the stakes that are so high in the lower series, which we're going to get into in just a few minutes. But AJ Allmendinger's only Cup Series win was at Watkins Glen 2014. Who did he beat? Another road course superstar, champion in the supercars, of course, Marcus Ambrose, whom I think should make a comeback in NASCAR maybe one of these days. Once he's allowed to travel again, but I'm just thrilled. I cannot wait. If you guys haven't watched or casually watched NASCAR and pick a few races of the year to watch this race. Yeah. This race is the forefront of why NASCAR racing is so exciting and why the 2021 in particular is going to be just thrilling.
Well, you say watch it, but people that don't have FS1 can't watch because
you go on Twitch and you look up. I don't know. I'm not
one of the Geo channel. Well, some people are too cheap to get cable, but like other countries, like in Canada, it's live on TV.
What, TSN has it?
Yeah, except the trucks is on Fox Sports Racing with their weird ass logo that is so like small. But it's like, yeah, so Coda's gonna be interesting for Cup. Then we got after the Cup Series, we still got the Xfinity Series.
And that's where our next point is. There's a lot of I don't know how I can stop grinning after now because the Xfinity Series race.
It's gonna be
40 cars. Okay, for Xfinity, 40 cars make the grid with qualifying.
But 43 are entered, so that means.
And a lot of these teams, we know some teams that could not even qualify for the Daytona 300 when it was rained out, have been pretty much sitting out, hoping teams wouldn't show up, which never happened. Bassett Racing and Jordan Anderson are good examples of that.
But the 91 car is also entered for DGM's fourth entry. They're entered this weekend. They entered Daytona road course after the Daytona race with Mario Gosselin, but that didn't work out. But they're in the they're going to try to qualify in the field, trying to bump out some of these guys like the 13 car, like the people with low on owner points, because the lowest person on owner points that has points is the 13. Carl Car.
Borsed is driving that car. Okay, I'm a huge Borsed fan, and to see him back in stock cars after saying he was going to step out of the Cup Series 4 years ago, just racing part-time on the road courses, I can't stop this grin. I'm a huge Borsed fan. I always was a fan of him growing up. He kind of got me into sports car racing, just watching him race, in, especially GT racing. Remember, Boris won the 2005 Nürburgring 24 Hours. He was the first American driver to get the overall win. Connor Filipe, I think, ended up winning as well. He's American, but it was just a great accomplishment. But
they also got other drivers like Spencer Pumpelly making his first start, driving for Johnny Davis's number 6. He's replacing Vargas for this weekend. Kevin Harvick is driving for BJ McLeod Motorsports in the 5 entry. Oops.
I can't wait to see Kevin Harvick drive that car.
Okay,
BJ McLeod Motorsports, imagine if they win. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I would love to see Kevin Harvick, the 2-time champion, shine in his return to the series. It's going to be a good one. How about Miguel Paludo?
For
Junior Motorsports, Brazil Porsche Cup champion for many years. He's back.
Cole Custer driving for Bobby Daughters, number 17 entry. Andy Lally.
Andy Lally, right there.
For Our Motorsports, you got so many drivers. You got Austin Dillon for the number 77 Bassett Racing. You got
Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch won the 2017 race at Watkins Glen. And fun fact, he won at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, home of the Mexico Grand Prix in Formula One, in their last ever race in 2008.
You got Tyler Reddick for Jordan Anderson Racing. You got also Chris Wright for Sam Hunt Racing. You got so many road course guys. Preston Pardis.
He's probably turned more laps than anybody else at the track.
Yeah, he's in the 4th DGM car in the number 91 that failed to qualify. Failed to qualify twice this year, but it's going to be interesting. Ryan Ellis, decent road course racer in the 99.
How about Cesar Baccarella from South Florida making a return to the series?
Yep, his 3rd start this year in the 90 entry. But it's going to be interesting during qualifying. to see
Oh
who's.
my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, all right. So just assuming that everybody's in the race, who's going to take the win here?
Okay, my pick. This driver, he has some experience on road courses in different racing series. He's driving a car that almost won, but got disqualified at Homestead. Driver of the number 23, Andy Lally, is going to win at Kona.
That would be impressive. And think about the weather conditions. What if it rains?
Yeah.
Not too many of these drivers really have experience racing in the rain, do they?
Andy
or
Lally.
ever even racing a stock car on this track.
Yeah, but Andy Lally does. He's raced in sports cars in the rain. He's raced in stock cars in the rain at some road courses. He's good at these tracks. So always consider Andy Lally running a road course race to be up front. Like he was running last year, he was running in the top 5 for our Motorsports in the 02 at Daytona last year. So don't count out that our Motorsports.
Don't count them out at all. All right, my pick to win this race, and I think for this weekend, we're going to see something very surprising. He has been advertising this race for the Cup Series with the manufacturer he's driven for. He's already done some tour laps around in street cars, but I think it's going to translate into stock cars. Kyle Busch will score the win for Joe Gibbs Racing. And it's not going to come easy. None of these guys are going to give anybody any room here. It's going to be tough. But, I mean, honestly, it could go to anybody. This race will be so exciting to watch for many reasons. Oh, yeah, that's going to be round 11, 33. There'll be 1/3 through the season. Last but not least, the Truck Series. For Circuit of the Americas, round 9 of 22 for this inaugural race. Now, in this case, how many cars make the starting grid?
36.
36. I still wish NASCAR could hear us. Please make it 40.
And do you know how many trucks are entered? 44. So that's 8. No, that's
8 people go home. And
8.
And this series probably has the most road course ringers because of the situation. And also, I think this is the first race of the Triple Truck Challenge. I don't know who's eligible. We'll get into that later. But let me just go through some of the names that you may not be familiar with. They're just numerical order here. We got Kaz Grala, great road course driver. Scored a top 10 finish in his Cup debut at Daytona's road course last year in a Richard Childress car. How about Roger Rose for Jordan Anderson Racing? Let's throw in another name here. Caden Murphy, who's an off-road driver in his free time. He even runs Monster Jam. How about, what about another name here? Oh, Jack Wood making his debut in the Truck Series for GMS Racing. How about Michelle Abate for On Point Motorsports?
She's a Trans Am owner, and she's a 4-time champion. Don't remember the series, but she's a 4-time champion in
SCCA sanctioned racing.
Yep.
Sam Mayer.
Yep.
He's got a big job to do to get that truck qualified for Brett Holmes Racing, his somewhat ARCA rival.
Lawless Allen.
Lawless Allen's back. Still yet to know who's in the sister truck, number 33. Let's see who else is there. Logan Bearden for Nice Motorsports. John Altwell for CMI Motorsports. Parker Chase, a GT3 driver who's part of the Lexus Factory program, will be driving a Toyota Tundra for Kyle Busch Motorsports like he did at the road course at Daytona this year. Paul Menard. Yes, Paul Menard.
Sport Racing in the number 66.
NASCAR.
Yep, he's in that 5th truck, which Ty Majeski will run at Charlotte because that race will have qualifying at Charlotte. But yeah, Paul Menard's back after running his last race in 2019 at Homestead. Wow.
When was the last time he ran in a truck series?
It was a long time ago.
Definitely. I know he hasn't won a truck race, but if he does, he'll join that elusive club of top 3 series winners.
But I didn't expect to hear Paul Menard's last truck race was 2007. Kroger 250 at Barnesville.
After all, his last win in the Xfinity Series was at a road course. Yes, it was at his home track at Wisconsin Elkhart Lake in Road America, but still, it's a road course. Different characteristics.
Well, do you know what? Paul Menard only ran one race in 2007. Guess what team he drove for?
Billy Baloo Motorsports?
Yep.
In
the 51 Chevy, finishing 33rd. His only top 10 came Kansas 8th at Kansas 03 for Andy Petrie's number 33 entry. But if Palmanar qualifies, because that truck has 0 owner points.
He has to do well, though, for the team because there's going to be another driver in Ty Majeski who's going to run that truck later this year. Samuel Lecomte and Brad Gross will make their series debuts, or at least attempt to, for CMI Motorsports. Parker Clearman, who is pretty good on the road courses, will be back.
Eckes is in the 98 truck. Christian Eckes driving for...
Eckes is back, so that puts Grant Enfinger back into the 9 for Cody Rohrbaugh.
Yep.
This is a lot. So assuming that all 44 cars start the grid on, was it Friday or Saturday?
Saturday, before the Xfinity race. So
who will take the win then? If that's just, if we're speaking in that kind of language, that all these guys are going to be making starts, or just making the start on the grid. Who will go to victory lane?
Okay, my pick, this is a little bit bold.
Oh, really?
It's kind of bold because this driver, he hasn't raced a race in a while. By a while, I mean 2019. I know
where you're going with this.
His last truck start 07.
You just said it.
Driver of the number 66, Paul Menard is gonna win at Coda for ThorSport.
You know what? That would be a popular win, but I think the driver who wins this race, it will blow your mind when I give you this prediction. But this driver right here, I think we've seen him do very well already, but we haven't seen him at his fullest. Sam Mayer will get Brett Holmes Racing a win.
Oh, shit.
With Camping World livery on the truck.
Oh, I thought you were going to say CMI Motorsports.
No, we're not there yet.
No, Racing Sorelli's not going to get
I wouldn't be surprised at all if they have a hard time making the field, especially that we have 36 starting there.
What happens if they get GMS engines somehow?
We don't know. Not until the first session starts, and that's when it all begins.
Well, Norm Benning drive for Joe Cobb won't be fast either. I don't even know how fast the lap times are going to be.
We have no idea. We're probably going to be 2+ minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes, I assume.
It could be because Road America for Xfinity, they do 2:10s at a 4-mile track. F1 does a minute 20 something, a minute 20 something to a minute 30. But that's if you're in a fast car like Mercedes at Coda. If you're in a Haas car this year, you're not going to be going fast. Sorry, Haas fans. I don't think even there's Haas F. I know there's Haas F1 fans.
I try to like them. It's getting harder to do that.
Well, the first year was decent, but now it's just
the rest is just all.
Haas is building cars
bad.
Haas building.
Gosh, the Hurricanes, they have a full crowd or something?
Wow.
That looks even fuller than the Panthers yesterday.
Oh, I guess really a lot of Carolina.
Feels like 2019 again. I have a grin on my face. I love this.
Literally, what Coda's gonna be just interesting. Right as the first practice session, which is the truck starts off the weekend, right as they get on track, I'm gonna be just watching, because I'm off from work at noon where I live on
every session counts.
Friday.
If you're behind, you might be behind to the point where you're not even going to be in the starting grid.
Hopefully, remember what happened the last time we had a truck qualifying? Remember the 83 truck?
No, the CMI trucks didn't even make it.
No, remember the whole rear...
everything it was embarrassment.
No, remember what happened the rear end? Remember the track bar? The track bar just fell underneath the truck. It's like, how does that fall off under the truck when they're trying to get it started? That's how Tim Baines missed the race. CMI, I didn't expect. I remember looking at the entry list a bit at work. I'm like, okay, the 49E3. I'm like, another race Cicerelli truck, the number 72.
Why not? You got a road course ringer, make the most of it. And plus, it's a very important race to make. If you make it, it might kind of secure you in the future, especially if we're talking the 49 or 83 here. All right. We're going to discuss another prestigious race, the return of a tradition. We have the 2021 Monaco Grand Prix. It's here. Let's talk about how important this race is. for starters, this is pretty much considered the most prestigious Formula One race or single-seater race in all of Europe and almost around the entire globe. If you want to be fair, the Indianapolis 500, 24 hours Le Mans, they're pretty much on that same boat. Let's talk about the entire history of this race, meaning we're going to include all the names and teams from pre-Grand Prix World Championship era to today in Formula One. Let's get into that, shall we? So the first ever race, the Monaco Grand Prix, was held in 1929 with a Bugatti and a British driver, French manufacturer, British driver of William Grover Williams in 1929. Now, last time we had the Monaco Grand Prix, it was in 2019, won by Lewis Hamilton. And who has the most wins by drivers at this event? Ayrton Senna. He was a god, and I mean it in all cases here, at this track. He won consecutively. He won 1987. He didn't win in 88. But after 88, 1989, 1990, 91, 92, 93, tragically, he could not been there to win for a seventh time in 94 of his untimely death.
Holy.
In May of that year. But Ayrton Senna from Brazil, a record 6 times, and he won it 5 in a row. It's hard enough to finish a race here, but to win it like that, you're in another planet. That's why he was considered by many to be the greatest of all time. Next on the list with 5 wins, Graham Hill and Michael Schumacher. Just 2 great drivers right there. Alain Prost, the only man between Ayrton Senna and his Monaco wins from 88. He also won in 84, 85, and 86, 3 in a row. Alain Prost, 4 times he has been a winner. He's also one of 2 French drivers to win more than once here. I guess it's a home race, to be fair, for these French drivers, because it is kind of a portion of France, Monaco. Next, Sir Sterling Moss, the late Sterling Moss, Sir Jackie Stewart, Nico Rosberg, and Lewis Hamilton, 3-time winners of this race. And then with 2 wins, Juan Manuel Fangio, Maurice Trintignant, Niki Lauda, Jody Scheckter, David Coulthard, Fernando Alonso, Mark Webber, and Sebastian Vettel. So for all those drivers, they have scored wins at the Monaco Grand Prix. Now for constructor wins, McLaren has the most wins for constructors, and we're going to include all of them for every race that's been held at the streets of Monte Carlo. 15 times they have won in McLaren. If they can start well, it might be a 16th. Ferrari, same case here. 10 times they have won a race. Last time 4 years ago with Sebastian Vettel. Then 8 times for Mercedes, 3 of which before the World Championship even began in the 1930s. And then, of course, in their just dynasty era of the 2010s and 2020 that continue on to this day. Lotus, 7 times they have won. BRM, 5 times. Bugatti and Red Bull, 4 times. Alfa Romeo, Maserati, Cooper, Tyrrell, and Williams, 3 wins. And with 2 wins, Brabham, Benetton, and Renault. Now with engine manufacturers, we'll include that as well for this prestigious event. Mercedes owns this one. 15 wins from Mercedes. Ford, 14 wins back when they were an engine builder. 10 times a Ferrari engine won this race. 6 times Honda and Renault engines won the Monaco Grand Prix. 5 times for Climax and BRM. 4 times for Bugatti. 3 times for TAG, Maserati, and Alfa Romeo. So there are your numbers of how special this race really is for so many reasons. Some of the greatest world-class drivers have won this event, and who will add their name to the list in year 2021 after last year's unfortunate, unforeseen circumstances that removed the race. We are back in 2021. Who's going to win it this time around? I know you're gonna make it very honest.
Wait, no, that's the wrong way of my receipt. I wrote my
Welcome
pick
to the
on.
Origami Podcast.
44. Lewis Hamilton. He'll get win number. I think it's 90 something.
99.
I think it's 90. Yeah, it's close. Let me check.
You go back and look right now. I'm looking.
It's gonna be win number 99.
Yes.
Ooh,
That would be something special.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton will get win number 99 of his career.
I'm gonna be voting.
Oh, geez.
No, finish what you're saying, Justin.
I feel like for me, I feel like Lewis will win because you're talking about Monaco. He's good there recently. The Mercedes is not a bad car. It's not. It's not the 2020 Ferrari they have. That car just was the car was just one of the worst cars that I don't know. And the Ferrari strategy was bad last year for some reason.
Listen, I know my pick.
Oh, geez. Who is it?
This is going to be a very popular win. He's won here before. It was about 3 years ago in a different team. But he can end a long-awaited, just unbelievably unforeseen dry spell for a constructor.
Really?
Daniel Ricciardo will win the Monaco Grand Prix.
In a McLaren?
Yes, in a McLaren. All you got to do is qualify really well.
Well, you're talking about
and make yourself wide in this Grand Prix, and you're set free.
Well, what happens if Lewis Hamilton just pulls away from Max, and then Max? Well, what happens if Max?
No, that's why I'm taking the risk.
Yeah,
with Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, but it just depends how Lewis. If Lewis gets the pole by like 2 seconds somehow, I don't know how Lewis.
Hey, it's not that hard to have your lap interrupted in a session here.
Well, you just don't stay behind Nikita Mazepin in a lap. Because
if you stay behind Nikita Mazepin in Q1, you're not going to go to Q2 or Q3.
Or for Nikita Mazepin, don't get behind him when you're trying to lap him because he doesn't let you go. Like they say blue flags and he doesn't move over. It's like, why? It's like people were doing memes about Gunther Steiner's history. One of them, how to pull a car out of the in the water in the pool in Monaco because they think Mazepin's car is going to end up there. It's like
pretty much physically impossible, anyways.
Well, we'll see. I don't think that Mazepin's finishing the Monaco Grand Prix.
Honestly, I think if this is a place for McLaren to get double points and improving the constructors, this is the one. This is it. Everything's going to count here.
But yeah, we know
this was the one race where I wanted to see the racing points from last year run. Because they could have snatched a good finish or something like that. And I always had this like feeling like this thing, this little hookup, like hang up here where like a team that isn't the top tier can pull a win at the track like this. Just imagine if Michael Schumacher's pole actually counted in 2012. Mercedes wasn't up to par then.
No. 2013 they were starting getting there. 2014 that's where Mercedes came in. Like, Lewis Hamilton started just winning.
And they never looked back.
No, Lewis Hamilton's still winning. Valtteri Bottas is not winning. He's just there sometimes just being third place.
That happens when you're a number two driver. You have to do number two driver things.
But it's like recently 2020, Lewis Hamilton versus Max Verstappen just battling out. Then you see, like, behind Valtteri Bottas, everyone else, the Haas and Mick Schumacher, and then way far behind, probably a few miles behind Mick Schumacher's Nikita Mazepin. It's just like, we know Haas is not going to have a successful race because their car is not made for many tracks, and Monaco's a hard circuit, and the car has no grip sometimes.
It's a very unforgiving one too.
So Haas is going to struggle still. Williams, I don't know if they'll struggle.
If George Russell can put a good qualifying performance together, I did like this with McLaren, but in terms of winning, Russell could get points.
Ferrari, I don't know how Ferrari's going to be.
Let's go back like 7 years ago. The late Jules Bianchi in 2014 picked up his only points for Marussia F1, a very weak team at the time.
Yeah.
They're not a team anymore, but he picked up points for them at this track, utilizing all the narrowness of the track.
Yeah, it was also Marussia's first points. since entering 2010, which they were known as Virgin Racing back when they entered in 2010. But yeah, it was an interesting and this.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be. And 2017 had a good moment, but not so good for Pascal Wehrlein getting flipped over by Jenson Button's McLaren.
Turned out to be Jensen's last start for the 2009 champion.
Yep, he replaced
Alonso, who was competing his first Indy 500.
Which he had an engine failure in his Indy 500.
Okay. I think that's enough. Let's go ahead and talk about the other major single-seater event that's going to happen this month, and that, of course, is the 2021 Indianapolis 500-mile race. We're going to discuss some of the qualifying formats and everything that goes with it. We'll talk about the entries here. There are 35 drivers. So in case you're unfamiliar with the Indy 500 rules,
oh, come on, Nashville.
Nobody is safe to be locked into this event. Or Danny's here. You're in time for this Indy 500 discussion. Nobody's safe to be locked into this event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means it doesn't matter where you are in points. You could be the greatest driver right now on IndyCar's history books, or you could be, in the weakest team. You're not in by default. And there are 2 long qualifying sessions, Saturday and Sunday, and half a dozen practices before then to get these teams ready. If you're not on par, you're behind, you might be done for.
Yeah.
35 for 33 spots. This is musical chairs at its finest because 2 people are going to be watching the race from TV.
Yeah.
Whether they anticipate it or not. All right, let's go ahead and talk about some of the entries, just teams that you want to look out for. We have testing on the way. Opening day starts tomorrow, first thing in the morning.
Yep.
And let me just take a look and see how many sessions we have. We have 2 sessions tomorrow. We have 1 session on Wednesday. On Thursday, we have 1 session as well. We have on Friday. We have 1 session on Friday, right, and a morning practice session pre-qualifying. The last pre-qualifying session on Saturday, first thing in the morning. Then by noon, we have the day-long qualifying session for day 1. A practice in between on Sunday in the morning, and then it's back to qualifying again. There's a post-qualifying practice session just before sunset that same day after the 33-car grid is set.
Right.
And then that's it for practice. They don't have practice after pole day practice, post-session. Nothing until carb day, final practice on the 28th of May. And it's the race. If you're not on par now, you're behind. And once you're behind,
you're pretty much done for.
Exactly.
I'm looking here for the Indy 500. If people are wondering, Carolina just tied up the game. Interesting. But other than that, I was saying about for Indy 500 practice. Yeah, you got practice 1 at 10 a.m. Eastern to 2. Then 3 p.m. to 2. 3 p.m. to 2. 3 p.m. to 6. You got practice 2. That's all the practices are aired on Peacock. Day 1 qualifying. Part 1 starts at noon to 2. TV coverage for Part 2 on NBC from 2 to 3 and 3 to 6 on NBCSN. They have a practice May 23rd, but on NBCSN, last row qualifications on day 2 qualifying on NBCSN.
Whole day.
Yeah, qualifications for to be that last row thing they did.
Yes.
That in 2019.
Like an LCQ, but
bump day
for time trials.
Yeah, and then they got the Fast 9 from 2:30 to 4:30. But
the first 3 rows.
And then they have Indy 500 practice 8 after the Fast 9.
a lot of teams don't really take the time to do it because you're already tired and exhausted for just trying to get in. Let that anxiety get off your shoulders.
But there's still a few that just test the car.
And I like that IndyCar open track teams that want to utilize as much as they can.
Then it's Carb Day on May 28th. But it's like, the thing with last row qualifying, like you see, like last row qualifying. Remember they did that back in 2019.
You mean bump day?
Yeah, that's what it's called. Qualified K. Yeah, that. Remember when Kyle Kaiser snuck in, just qualified 33rd
and knocked out Fernando Alonso?
Oh my gosh!
Who saw that coming? Not me.
That was the biggest upset in bump day history.
Yeah, because like Kyle Kaiser was driving for the Home Coast Racing team who crashed. They had no sponsors on that car. Like that car was the team. They stayed up all night to make sure the car was ready for qualifying and stuff.
What a last-ditch effort! It paid off.
Oh, I remember Kyle Kaiser's lap. I remember how happy Kyle Kaiser was, and he also said this is all the team because the team worked hard to prepare the car to get it on par to try to get into the Indy 500 in 2019. It was really impressive for that Home Coast Racing team.
All right, well let's discuss. I'm going to add a few predictions here, because since we'll be back and we'll know the 11 rows of 3 when we come back here for the next episode.
Yeah.
Let's predict the front row, and which is unique about the Indy 500. There are 3 in each row, so the front row has 3 people in it, 3 drivers. Yeah. I want you guys to come up with your front row predictions, and I'm going to come up with mine. And when you guys are ready, we're going to go ahead and share that to the audience here.
Okay.
I go first. I'm gonna
go ahead, Danny.
Okay. So, as we've all seen for these previous 500s, the driver from Chip Ganassi has been on the front row. So my first driver is going to be Scott Dixon. Second, we've also seen the same for Team Penske, but it's never been one driver; it's always been another. So I'm going to go with Simon Pagenaud for the second row, for the second driver in the first row. And I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice and say someone from Ed Carpenter Racing will be in the front row. I'm not sure which driver is in Ed Carpenter Racing right now, but someone from Ed Carpenter Racing is going to be in the front row with those 2 drivers.
I think you're going to mention Ed and all that because he has been a pole sitter many times before. All right. I have my prediction. He's a former pole sitter, so I can assume that the Ed Carpenter Racing driver you mentioned in question is going to be Ed himself.
Yes.
All right. So my prediction for the front row, and this is going to be very interesting. 2-time winner of the Indy 500. Nope. Not Marco Andretti. Pablo Montoya. No, Marco Andretti is a 2-time
runner-up.
Almost Indy 500. Sorry to all the Andretti fans out there. I have a lot of respect for them. But second place, I see starting this event. I believe that second place on this one, and you guys are going to be pretty interested or intrigued to hear this, but I have Stephen Wilson for Andretti Motorsports coming up here.
Okay.
Ooh,
and last but not least, the pole sitter of the 105th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race will be from Toowoomba, Australia. Willpower for Team Penske.
Okay.
Justin, you're next.
Okay. my front row, I'm going to start with third place. My front row is a Ed Carpenter Racing Chevy. Connor Daly will start third in his number 47 entry.
I had. Sorry to interrupt you, Justin, but I was thinking Connor Daly, but I was not. I was like, nah.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
Okay, second place. This is a Honda. This driver is from Japan. Takuma Sato will start second in his Rahal Letterman Honda. And starting on the pole for the 105th Indianapolis 500, driving the number 20, Ed Carpenter is going to start on the pole for this Indy 500.
Oh,
yeah.
I like that prediction, Justin.
Yeah, so I have Carpenter, Sato, Daly on the front row. So 2 Ed Carpenter cars and the Honda of Sato in second.
No, they come prepared every year. This could be it.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's actually in their hometown, so
It is.
they might have an advantage.
Big time. By the way, let's take a little darker turn. There will be 2 drivers on the entry list who will be watching next weekend's Indy 500 on TV and not being in it as they get bumped from the race. 33 make the grid, and if you're 34th and 35th, you're going to be watching the race on TV. Who will not make the Indy 500? There will be 2 drivers for that. I'll let you guys come up with those predictions because this is going to be a very tough qualifying. It looks like all these guys have a pretty good chance at finishing well in this race. Let's make those predictions. I'm very interested in hearing this. So who will be the 2 drivers not making the Indy 500? I'll let you guys think for a second here before we go. I have mine.
Go,
Danny.
Gosh, man. As much as I really do hate to say this, but I definitely feel that Palou and what's his name? Hinchcliffe. We're probably. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, you guys.
You just dissed the whole. You just dissed the whole racing fan base.
You guys, I'm sorry, man.
Well,
Hey, it's realistic. Anybody can not make the 500. You could be the championship leader and miss this race.
Yeah.
I have
that. As much as you guys would say,
Hitter, but you're not wrong. Let's continue, Justin.
I have mine. My first one is Simona C. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. Simona Di Silvestro for Beretta Autosport, number 16. And my second one, this is probably not a shock. Maybe, I don't know. Max Chilton for Carlin.
Wow.
The 16 and the 59. Yeah. I just feel like Carlin's not just... it's just Carlin's lacking some speed a bit with Max Chilton compared to Connor Daly when he ran at Texas. But Simona Di Silvestro, I just feel like the Beretta team is not going to be that fast for some reason.
They have Penske Alliance. I would think twice from that, but you never know. No one's safe here. All right, I got my picks.
Oh, jeez. Hopefully they're not too crazy.
The Indy 500 and driving for AJ Foyt Enterprises from Stouffville, Ontario, Dalton Kellett.
Dalton Kellett? I thought JR Hildebrand would have missed it because it's JR Hildebrand.
He's
a
staple here.
JR Hildebrand choked the Indy 500 in 2011.
Oh, God.
That finish still is just hard to imagine, even 10 years later. Second to not show up in this race, and I'm surprised you guys didn't mention his name, but he's driving for Top Gun Racing. R.C. Enerson will not show up, and he's not going to make the Indy 500.
Well, he might. He's not.
He's still good. It's not impossible.
Yeah, but Like, we could have a big name DNQ. Like, remember James Hinchcliffe missing the Indy 500? Remember that one year when
you got all the boring NASCAR fans? I mean, so-called IndyCar fans coming on the internet saying IndyCar should have provisionals.
Oh yeah, I remember
that. And then they did the same thing last year when the race ended behind the pace car. There should be green round checkers and IndyCars.
Yeah.
Go back and watch NASCAR. Pay a couple bucks at your local short track to watch a demolition derby. Don't try to get in the way of IndyCar drivers trying to put on an authentic race.
Yeah, please no negativity.
Like the thing is, it's going to be interesting during IndyCar qualifying.
Very much. So much on the line and so many names we didn't consider that could be considerations. We'll have a race predictions definitely next week when the grid is set. Because by the way, there'll only be just the final practice in the race by the time we come back here next week on the podcast. So keep your eye out on.
For people wanting to watch it, it's on Peacock. Except if there's a live stream. I have a live stream bookmark on my computer for Peacock. A free live stream. I have that bookmarked.
Good.
Every time I have that. Yeah, every time I find a live stream, it's only called just Indy Genesis 300 because that was the IndyCar practice. I always bookmark things. I always bookmark like if there's like an IndyCar practice going on Peacock, I always bookmark a link. But it's kind of interesting how coverage happens for sports. Like Sky Sports F1, I don't know why. Like Sky Sports, I don't know how. For just Sky Sports, they just have
they have world feed. I don't think they have commercials over there.
Let me just check. Sky's oh my! You know, for the US, you got to watch on Peacock for practice. Indy 500 practice is live on Sky Sports F1 over there. So the people in the UK get on TV, and people in the United States, where the country it's broadcasted from, only gets it on a premium thing with Peacock, which is kind of annoying for some. Yeah, people in the UK really liking their IndyCar deal. It's going to be interesting in Indianapolis.
I gotta get away from NASCAR memes. All right, so I think we have IndyCar out of the way. We have one more race to cover, and it's gonna be a huge week of motorsports on the table. But we do have an endurance sports car race, one race that we will preview. I think I have Justin, thanks for the entry list there because I have it already picked up. The Creventic 24-hour series, the 24H series, will be racing at the Hockenheim Ring in Germany for the 12 hours of the Hockenheim Ring. That's round 4 of 8. We'll be halfway done through the 24H series season in 2021 after this race to the 12 hours of Hockenheim Ring. This weekend, I believe it's a 2-part race where they do it like one day and then everybody goes the next day.
It's 12 hours in between each race.
No, like 6 and 6, I think, something like that.
Let me check. I'm checking. Well, come on. Oh, I don't want a shark emoji phone. And my phone's trying to give me a shark emoji.
Well, like the San Jose Sharks, I see.
Well, they're not even in the playoffs because they're not good.
No. Yeah, it's not a California dreaming year for the teams, as none of them are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Now the 24. Okay. I'm checking for the 24. Okay, Explore race. I want to see the schedule. I got the schedule. Sunday, May 23rd. Yep, it's a 2-part race. Part 2 starts on Sunday. Part 1's on Saturday. So it's a 2-part race.
And how many hours here? Is it 6 and 6 or is it 4 and 7?
It's okay. 5 hours 30 minutes for part 1. For part 2, 6 hours 30 minutes for part 1. So 6.5 hours and then 5.5 hours.
All right, that's good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so that's that. Now the classes, of course, showing up. We know the GT3 class will be the one that's competing for the overall win. GT3, we're gonna go make our predictions for that class, and Justin, if you want, we can go around and take a look at the other categories because remember we have 2 series in one here, the GT and TCE series. So let's see what we have here, and looking in the overall class of GT3s, who's going to take the win here?
In the GT3s,
overall win.
Okay, I got my pick.
All right, let's hear it.
My pick is the number 85 CP Racing entry, driven by Charles Putman, Charles Espinlaub, Joe Foster, and Shane Lewis.
All right, yeah, you got Mercedes, number 85, the All-American team. These drivers are all above 50 years old, and they love racing.
Yep.
All right, let me put my pick in to win this race, as we are getting a little low on time here. My pick to win, and I think this team is, I'm surprised that the main car didn't show up this time around, but this team seems to always have the upper hand. Who's driving? It's the number 92, Herbert Motorsport Porsche. Wait, is that a Ferrari? I hope I'm not reading that wrong. That they're
it's a Ferrari. It says Ferrari.
I think that's a typo. There's no way they would switch. They won the Asian Lost Series championship and got invited to Le Mans based on Porsche drivers.
Should I?
If it's a Ferrari, then so be it. But I'm going to assume it's a Porsche, and the drivers of Jordan Herrig, Bobby Gonzalez, Tim Mueller, and Alfred Renauer are going to win the race.
Hey Joseph, what happens if you just Joseph?
If I'm wrong, just call me crazy.
No, Joseph, what happens if you just it's a Porsche, and then you just see the Ferrari logo on it? You're like, what? That would be interesting, but that would be so I have the number 85. I feel like their Mercedes is going to do well.
Oh, I'm on Wikipedia, and it says that they are going to drive a Ferrari.
Okay.
I'm very shocked. That would be like, okay, you're going to call me crazy here because Danny's on and he's an Islanders fan. That would be like John Tavares, successful with the Islanders.
What did you just say?
I'm going to go to the Maple Leafs now.
Oh, boy.
I don't know. But hey, that's a very bold maneuver, to say the least. All right, in GTX class, we have about what?
That is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 entries: 701, 719, 724, and 725.
All right.
Okay, I got my pick. My pick is the number 724, Ryder Engineering and KTM Expo GTX, driven by Horst Febelmeyer Jr., Ike Angermeyer, Nikolai
Englonglian.
Yeah, and then Mads Saljig.
These guys won in class before, actually, in the previous race, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And how about the Porsche 991 Cup class? All cars are running the Porsche 991 Cup car. And by the way, that red Camel Jordan.nl car that had the 992 version, they have been allowed in the class as well, so they get to join us in the category. But it's a one-make class with all Porsches. Who's going to take Porsche supremacy?
My pick is the number 925 Boss Cohenton Racing, driven by Marcel Van Berlo, Glenn Van Berlo, and Bart Van Helden.
All right. Sounds good to me. It seems like the Dutch teams do very well here in Creventic 24H Series race.
Oh wow. Two GT4s again.
I guess the other car I'm going to go for Stadler Motorsport number 920, all Swiss team here. Enzo Calderari, I've seen him race before. Felipe Minotti, Ramon Werner, and Paul Casper will take the Porsche 991 Cup class victory. And GT4, we only have the same two teams that ran before. We have ST Racing, BMW number 438, and the 401 Pro Sport Racing Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT4. All right, Belgium versus Canada.
I'm going with the Canadian team, ST Racing, driven by Samantha Tan, Chandler Holt, John Miller, and Nick Whitmer. This car's just been good. They've been really consistent this season. really pulling off their victories. So I feel like the 438 is going to get it.
438 has a good roster, but they fell apart last time. What if they fall apart again? You know what? Either way, if they both finish naturally out on the racetrack, I'm going to go with the 401 because I've seen a lot of good driving, especially the laps that Nico Verdonk has put out in the Pro Sport Racing Aston Martin, as well as Rodrigo Gillian and Kurt Hansen. So just being on the lookout for them. Now that's it for GT series. Now the TCE series, of course, we have two TC classes. The TCR class, the FIA TCR Touring Car Regulations. Who's going to win over there? And,
we got 6 entries. Okay, I got my pick. My pick is the number 169 Bonk Motorsports entry, driven by Volker Pipemeyer, Jens Mottefint, and Michael Bonk.
All right, you got Audi. Are they racing this one? I don't think they're in Red Cable Jordans.nl. No, they're not racing.
No, they're in the.
Oh, they switched classes.
Yeah.
Voikers, they switched. Oh man. Yeah, they were. I guess they were just too good at TCR.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with the TCR class. I think. AC Motorsport number 188. AC Motorsport Audi RS3 LMS DSG with Matthew Gentry, Stefan Wensinger, and Stefan Perrin, Audi RS3 LMS DSG. And last but not least, the TCX class. And I guess we're going to include that one TC car as well. They're probably going to go to TCX, assumingly. Yeah, they're definitely going to TCX with that car. Who's going to take victory in that class?
My pick is the number 278 CWS Engineering Janetta G55, driven by Colin White and Jean-Francois Bruno.
All right. My pick in the TCX class, I think for TCX, I'm going to take this car. This is a very interesting one. The number 211, Autorama Motorsport. Seat Leon Cup Racer V1 DSG with Luigi Stanco, Armando Stanco, and Dario Stanco taking the car to class win. It's going to be a good race, I'd say. You know, the 2-part race. We've seen that before in the Corvetic 24H series, but in the end, I mean, it's not a bad entry list. I mean, usually we see more entries or less entries, but this is, I guess, your average 24H series entry list.
Yeah, it's not that one time when we had a 24-hour race with not many cars.
Yeah, that 15-car race was a Portimao last year. The very first race since the pandemic.
Yeah, we had 15 cars. But hopefully, at least it's not going to be like the Dubai 24-hour. Remember that race, Joseph?
2020 race that lasted 7 hours.
Yeah, it rained the whole time that nobody expected rain at Dubai.
Nobody knew, but that was pretty much how 2020's terrible year was foreshadowed right from there. But after Hockenheim, by the way, last year the entry lists were so small in GT3s, and they all had problems that a 991 Cup class car won overall.
Oh yeah,
it was a 60-hour race too, so it gets more hours to make mistakes. After this race, these guys get off, of course, the 24 hours in Nürburgring. They come back in July for a 24-hour race at Portimao. We're definitely going to see more entries for sure. Then Barcelona for the second half of the season, 24-hour race as well in September. How about the Copa Florio tradition returns?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Remember that was resumed last year. The 12 hours is still progressive. Great circuit. I wish more series were on there.
I remember that race from last
October 2nd and 3rd. And, of course, this race, I really want to see it happen. Even though it's on the schedule, I hope it sticks. The 24 hours of Sebring on the 18th and 20th of November. I might just be there for that race. I have to take Armani, too. That race, I'm excited for. I've never seen a 24-hour race at Sebring. I mean, it's hard enough to go around the track for a 12-hour race. Let's add 12 more hours and see what happens.
Yeah. Will we see it happen, though?
Yeah, well, hopefully everything goes to plan.
Hey, America's starting to look a little bit lively again. I guess the CDC said it's okay. I guess they like to have conditional love, and let's not go there because it's a motorsports podcast.
Yeah, it's a motorsports. It's not World Hockey Media either.
No, even though it's been a very good game between Boston and Washington so far, and the refs and Lightning had a good win yesterday's match. Just
what?
We took bad penalties. And that first goal should have.
Bobrovsky didn't do the best either. They could have. Drieger should have been in there. Maybe Drieger would have saved goals and not let them in like Bobrovsky.
That's what it is. All right, so that's. I think that's pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, we did all the races.
Yeah, that's it. And this weekend's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tune into all the events going on this weekend. COTA for NASCAR, starting with the Truck Series. Truck Series first practice is Friday. Oh, no, wrong way. First practice for the Truck Series is at 3 Eastern on FS1. So it starts off with truck practice and then the Xfinity Series practice right after that. All on Friday. So all the coverage for COTA starts all on Friday. To check for IndyCar this weekend with qualifying and practice. Just because it's going to be interesting in Indianapolis. COTA for the first time. Monaco Grand Prix. It's gonna be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting weekend. With all the races going on.
I can't wait. Honestly, it's going to be very fun. It's a great time to be a race fan. I think that's just the perfect way to sum it up.
Yep.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So I think it's going to mark the end of this podcast, and we'll be back next week for episode 112.
Yep.
Partners Daniel Ford and Justin Hemmer. I am Joe Laney Pavlon signing off. Have a good night.